Welcome, coaches. Okay, if you're stepping onto the pitch with a group of 6 to 8-year-olds this season, you might be feeling, well, a little overwhelmed. But don't worry, you are in exactly the right place. In today's explainer, we are going to completely relieve that anxiety. We're giving you a developmental blueprint for successfully coaching the mites age group. By the time we wrap up, you'll understand exactly how these young minds work and how you can design practices that are fun, highly effective, and entirely stress-free. So here's our practice plan for today's explainer. We're going to welcome you to the reality of coaching mites, go through a developmental reality check, look at why this isn't team soccer, dive into building creativity and skills, and finally wrap up with fostering cohesion through play. Let's jump right in.
Section 1, Welcome to Coaching Mites, and more importantly, easing the pressure.
Let's just address the elephant in the room right off the bat, shall we? As a new coach, there's always that moment of sheer panic when you realize 20 little kids are swarming a single ball like bees on honey. You look at it and think, oh no, I'm failing. But here's the secret. US Soccer actually has official guidelines for this exact age group. And understanding them, it will completely lift the burden of tactical adult expectations right off your shoulders.
Okay, get a load of this. The most shocking, but honestly the most relieving directive from US Soccer is this. At the younger ages, soccer is not a team sport. Just let that sink in for a second. The literal governing body of the sport in this country is telling you to stop worrying about passing networks and defensive formations. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this. Release the tactics, embrace the play. Your job isn't to create some tactical masterpiece that mimics the Premier League. No way. Your actual job, your only real job at this age, is to build a fun, play-based environment where kids just fall head over heels in love with the game. Moving on to Section 2, the developmental reality check. What kids can actually do. To truly figure out why tactics just do not work yet, we kind of need to look at the science. See, there's a massive disconnect in our expectations. We expect passing, we expect them to hold positions and to execute a strategy. But the reality of a mite, their brains and bodies are completely consumed with basic motor coordination and simply chasing the ball. We set ourselves up for so much frustration when we judge them by adult standards. And the science really backs this up perfectly. Look at the 6 to 8-year-old range on here. Kids at this age have an almost limitless capacity to learn physical motor skills, running, jumping, getting their feet to do what they want. But their cognitive capacity to understand abstract spatial concepts like holding a position on a giant field, that is heavily limited. As a coach, you've got to work with their biological strengths, not against them. Now, a huge part of this cognitive limit is egocentrism. Especially at ages 4 through 7, children are developmentally egocentric. And hey, this doesn't mean they're selfish or stubborn. It means they literally, biologically, cannot see the field from a teammate's perspective yet. They are, quite literally, the center of their own universe. Section 3, it is not team soccer. We're looking at the individual relationship with the ball.
Because they're in this totally egocentric phase, our entire coaching focus has to shift away from team passing and over to individual mastery. Right now, dribbling is simply the child's attempt to gain control of the ball, and believe me, that takes an enormous amount of their mental and physical energy. It is absolutely crucial to encourage them to be creative, confident dribblers first and foremost.
In fact, US Soccer's Best Practices Guide drops this incredible gem on us. Do not demand that the more confident players share the ball. I know. That completely goes against every parental instinct we have about teaching kids to share. But in soccer, at this specific age, forcing a young player to look up and pass actually halts their individual technical development. We want a field full of confident dribblers.
All right, Section 4, Building Creativity and Skills, Actionable Practice Strategies.
So, how do we translate all this developmental science into an actual functional practice session you can use this week? Well, we need to create simple, player-centered environments where the kids learn by playing the game. No standing in lines, no listening to long lectures. The game itself is the absolute best teacher. Here's your toolkit. Focus heavily on dribbling. Keep your activities short and punchy because, let's be honest, their attention span is about the length of a TikTok video. And actually, here's an absolute game changer of a pro tip. If you've got a couple of kids dominating a scrimmage while the rest watch the clouds or pick dandelions, just drop 3 balls onto the field at once. Boom. Suddenly, everyone gets touches at their own pace without feeling intimidated. When game day rolls around, I really want you to ask yourself this question. Are you coaching play-to-play just to squeak out a win, or are you stepping back and actually letting them learn by playing?
Are you moving them around like little chess pieces, or are you letting them make their own messy, wonderful decisions? U.S. Soccer is super clear here. Avoid the impulse to micromanage from the sidelines. Yelling at a young player to pass or telling them to never dribble in front of their own goal might save a goal today, for sure, but it completely ruins their creative experimentation for tomorrow. Let them make mistakes. That is exactly how they learn.
Finally, Section 5, Fostering Cohesion Through Play, the Illusion of Teamwork.
Okay, so if we aren't passing or holding rigid positions, how on earth do we actually build a cohesive team? Well, the architecture of team cohesion looks completely different at this age. It's not built on complex passing drills. It's built on shared experiences. Step 1 is using pretend play. Step 2 is focusing on initiative, giving them small leadership roles like being the official cone helper for the day. And step 3 remains building that individual relationship with the ball right alongside their peers. Let's zero in on this concept of pretend play, because it's vital. Instead of a formal dribbling drill, tell them they're superheroes racing through a maze to save a cat. To a young child entering that shared imaginative world with their friends, that is exactly what builds their bond. That shared joy is their version of team chemistry. At the end of the day, creating a really warm, safe environment where you know their names, you ask them about their day, and you treat them with immense patience, that's the most protective factor you can offer as a coach. By simply talking to them about non-soccer things, you build incredible trust. And to protect this awesome culture you're building, you absolutely need the parents on board. A brilliant strategy here is implementing a strict 24-hour rule. If a parent is upset about playing time or something that happened in a game, they must wait 24 hours before discussing it with you. This simple boundary keeps heated adult emotions off the youth sideline and completely protects that safe space you've created for the kids. Which brings us to our final thought. At the end of the season, your ultimate measure of success has absolutely nothing to do with your win-loss record. It has nothing to do with how well they held a defensive line. The only question that really matters is this: did you create an environment so fun and engaging that these kids go home thinking the soccer ball is their absolute favorite toy? If the answer is yes, you are a phenomenal coach. Keep up the great work out there.